Thanks for checking out this review about using your H-back by Coach Nick Lindsay. He's the head coach at Arcola High School in Illinois. Did a video for Chiefpigskin. Checked it out because if you know me, I like using an H-back. Both Coach Lindsay and I would agree that the qualities of an H-back, the non-negotiable is they're smart and they're physical. Those are really the only two main requirements. And the bonus is how athletic and how versatile are they? My thoughts, which I think Coach Lindsay would agree with, is we all have H-back and tight end type kids. Oftentimes there's undersized offensive lineman with maybe a little extra athleticism. Maybe he's not one of the five guys who's going to be a starting offensive lineman for you. Or we have that slower skill player that, he's not one of the 3 or 4 fastest wide receiver running back type guys, but he's willing to be physical and block. He's smart enough to understand the blocking schemes and the different blocking techniques that he needs to be able to do to be effective and to add versatility to your offense. And then ultimately how athletic, how versatile, how well they catch the ball. You're going to utilize packages of plays based on that to maximize your personnel. And H-backs, bunch of different types of assignments. They'll kick out on split zone. Coach Lindsay shows a bunch of video on all of this. The wraparound counter GH, which he points out, that's a great matchup because you got a guard kicking out a defensive end. Usually that guard's going to be bigger and stronger than the defensive end. Maybe not more athletic, but it's going to be a better matchup sometimes than the H. And then the H up on the linebacker, once again, that's going to be a better matchup. Most of the time, actually, we've been able to have an H-back that is the same size or bigger than some of the inside linebackers that he's wrapping up to. The kick out on power, obviously, releases them to the linebackers on belly G. That's not a scheme that I've used. It was really neat seeing him utilize it out of the gun, and he's got some video on that coming up here. And then just releasing it in the passing game, whether that's an arrow or a pop pass on some play action or a wheel route in the vertical game. Coach Lindsay does a great job of showing how he pairs constraints with his H-backs. He starts off, they're using split zone. That H-back's coming across. He's going to kick out the C-gap player. Tackle hooks up on the B-gap player. Coach Lindsay does a great job showing how on split zone, that tackle's sifting, and then the H-back's taking the first thing that shows off the edge, gets the kick out, and creates, if the ball cuts back, which it ended up doing on this particular play, creates great lane for the running back. And then pairing with that split zone, so that defensive end, that C-gap player is used to that H-back coming and kicking him out, so he's looking to spill. You see on the second freeze here that DN gets inside. He thinks he's about to go make a play, goes and fits up on the dive. Quarterbacks roll into the edge. The force defender thinks he needs to come up and play the spill or make sure he contains the quarterback. And the next thing you know, an inside linebacker is out leveraged. And as you can see here, the H-back on his arrow, wide open for a touchdown. Something else I found interesting about Coach Lindsay, he uses really similar formations to when I was offensive coordinator for the past 3 years. He starts off in what we call green close slot, so they got both receivers over there. That's what closes the formation with the slot, and then the Y and the H are over there, and then shifts to ultimately what we would call gold, where now it's really a balanced formation. It's 2x2, unless you count the running back, then it's 2x3, but found that really interesting and did all that to eventually run belly G. And again, great video by Coach Lindsay. Lots of end zone shots. Really, as much as it's about an H-back, it's about blocking schemes. And it's the idea that, the offensive line, the tight end, the H-back, they all got to be communicating, hey, who's the kick out guy for the guard? They ended up having the guard kick out the force defender, which is a great matchup because that force defender wants to run up the field. The H-back knows he needs to skip the defensive end because the tight end's going to block him down and pin the linebacker inside. And then he shows how, all right, so that defensive end's used to that tight end down blocking him, so sometimes he steps out. Well, if he's stepping out, that's going to be easy kick out. So now they're going to change, and their H-backs have to be smart enough to understand this. If the tight end's now going to block down to the linebacker, the H-back has to pin the defensive end, and then they let the guard go out to perimeter. So it's ways to mess with that defensive end. Counter GH really emphasizes that the H needs to wrap tight and ultimately wants to block the linebacker on an inside-out angle so that way the running back can stay more vertical. Just a bunch of great coaching points the entire video. A bunch of power, just to keep this short and sweet. Power toss, kind of a speed option look. A power pop pass. Power shovel underneath to the H-back for a big gain. And then they've used their H-back as a lead on counter GT read if the quarterback keeps it, and then as the pitch option on a counter GT triple. So lots of versatility, and it's shown a couple years of film, so maybe not all of this is things he did with in a single year with a particular H-back, but it's things that you could do with your H-back if you think that fits within your offensive scheme and the abilities of both your H-back, your quarterback, and any other players in your scheme. And then he ends up showing how they're running the ball a bunch. It's a lot of heavy run sets, and that's going to set up play action opportunities. He shows that they run like a verts wheel switch, where the number 2 receiver takes the middle field, and then the H-back runs a wheel up the seam. Really had both of the receivers open on the particular clip he shares. And kind of same thing, him coming out of the backfield. One of those things, if a team gets 2 backs, I know defensively I am much more likely to play a 1 high safety. Well, if that 1 high safety is paying attention to the 2 detached receivers, a back out of the backfield, like the linebackers have to account for him, and that puts linebackers oftentimes in a little bit of a bind because they're used to coming up and hitting that kid, trying to leverage a potential run play. He's pairing it with ultimately power read here, and ends up leaving the H-back wide open down the middle of the field because the linebackers are too aggressive in the run game because they need to be, and the safety is not in the middle of the field, so that ends up being open. So great video to check out if you want to diversify your offense and start utilizing an H-back, or you want more ideas of how to use your H-back. Talks both about the run game and complementing that with play action. Coach Lindsay talks about formations, shifts, and motions. Something to consider if you have smart and physical H-back types, which we all do. If you're honest with yourself, there's a lot of teams you got that slightly undersized offensive lineman, or that maybe not quite as fast skill type guy, but they're smart and physical. They're going to block for you. And then Coach Lindsay goes over a bunch of coaching points, the blocking aiming points, how to leverage blocks, and bottom line, if you just like watching run schemes, because as much as Coach Lindsay's talking about H-backs, he's talking about their zone schemes and their gap schemes and how the H-back fits in that. It's a really, really worthwhile video to check out on Chiefpigskin with the Touchdown membership.
As always, guys, if you have questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Check me out and follow me on Twitter at Coach Klee. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. And if you have anything that maybe requires a longer response, hit me up at coachbrienklee@gmail.com. Thanks as always for tuning in. See you again.